probably now.
All right. Well, assuming that we're actually live, because it says we're live, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 21st of August, 2019, and we have got the full crew here. We even got Hernan on video, which, rarely happens. Normally, he's robbing banks, and so he has to wear a disguise or not show his video. But today, we've been blessed. He's not robbing banks. So thank you, Hernan, for being here with us.
Dude, I always come on video and Hump Day Hangout. You know why I came on video today? Because I want to show this.
Ooh, what do you got there?
This is a POFU coin. They're rare. They're extremely rare. It's just a handful of people have it, specifically this one. And so as you can see, it says POFU. So it's a POFU coin, and we got one at POFU. I got one at POFU Live 2018, and there are rumors that they might be a new set of these POFU Live 2019. So I'm just going because of the coin, it's just to get the coin, just to have the check. So anyways, I'm really excited about that. We have some good stuff coming up. So if you want to hang out with the Semantic Mastery crew, learn a shit ton of new stuff to grow your business, make awesome connections, and then have a good time, and then maybe have a coin like this one, but not this one, like another one. Just come to POFU Live 2019. It's going to be pretty cool.
I'd have to agree with Hernan. Couldn't have said it better. Yeah, you'll get a coin, and it will be, there is, I can confirm, a coin this year, and it will be unique. So definitely show up like Hernan's doing it. If it's just for the coin, that's cool, but hopefully you're there for everything else too. Let's go down the line real quick. Bradley, you're next on my screen. How you doing?
Hoping that I don't get knocked offline again. Fucking storm. So.
All right. If you want to take a day off, you don't have to make up weather stuff. You can just say.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I hear you. I think I've missed one Hump Day Hangout or two. One was scheduled off, and the other one I missed. You guys covered it for me in 250 episodes now.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's crazy, man. So, no, I'm not lying. There's really a storm out there.
Good deal. Well, we got everyone here. Let's keep moving on. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing good.
Cool. All right. Just going to keep moving. Marco, you there?
Shh. I'm incognito. Don't tell anyone.
Marco, we got something coming up next week, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we should have actually, I might go and edit the webinar, which is what we're hinting at, or I was, to be, you'll learn how to find out what's not working.
Yeah.
Let's grab the logo. Let's scratch it, like scratch it like that and say it doesn't work. Like
doesn't work.
Graffiti.
Well, like I said, even if it did work, Google could shut it down at any time. That, how many times we've heard that over the last 4 years?
A lot.
Well, assuming it doesn't work and but people still want to show up. What are we going to be talking about, Marco?
Oh, well, how to rank in Google using Google. It's the whole basis, the whole principle, the whole theory when it just started was that it would be much easier. And I don't know, 4 years later, we'll show Wednesday, because we just had an awesome case study posted in the Semantic Mastery Mastermind. We finally went after something e-commerce, right? So, well, this is local, this is local, this is local. We took on, I showed Lowe's, Walmart, Amazon, you name it, all the big boys. We took them on and getting results. You can't get any better than that. As they always say, proof is in the pudding, right? Show me, don't tell me. Well, I'm going to show you. The rest of people can talk, but I'm going to show you. And so that's next Wednesday, 1 hour before Hump Day Hangouts. So make sure you tune in early next week on Wednesday to hear Marco talk shit and to see what's not working.
Definitely. Highly encourage everyone to be there. Just like Marco said, with the live case study ongoing, we're going to be talking about that a whole lot more. And if you're not, or if you're watching right now and you're not on the Semantic Mastery email list, head over to the website, or if you're watching on the page, sign up. You'll get an email invitation to the webinar we're talking about, as well as some other great stuff. So real quick, before we jump into the questions, I wanted to say too, if you're watching for the first time, thanks for joining us. You can always come here. This will be where the newest, latest, greatest upcoming Hump Day Hangouts will be, and that's at semanticmastery.com/HD questions. All right, and then the next step after that is to grab the battle plan. You can find it on the sidebar somewhere where you're looking at it, or if you're watching the replay on YouTube, you can find the link down below. That's the best place to get started if you're looking for repeatable results. And if you're looking to take things up another notch or two, you're starting or you want to grow your digital marketing agency, you want to join an experienced community, you want faster access to real world info, then the mastermind is probably the place for you to be. Find out more about that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And wherever you are in that area, those groups, MGYB.co is where you can get your done for you services, get hooked up with your syndication networks, your RYS Drive Stacks, press releases, link building, embeds, and a ton more coming. To be honest, if you haven't been over there in a while, go check it out at MGYB.co. Rob and team have been busy adding some services, making some updates, so go and check it out. And last but not least, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Stay up to date with these as well as the other videos that we upload from time to time. And help us out, share the channel, share the videos you like, and give us a holler, leave some comments, let us know what you like and what you'd like more of.
Don't we have some new, am I allowed to talk about the new packages coming out in MGYB?
I think you could, well, yeah, we could say it's potentially, because if it doesn't happen, we don't want people to be depending on them, but we're working on them, we'll say, and hopefully they come out. So yeah, why don't you talk about that, brother?
Well, we've got some new packages coming out soon, very soon, with that will make it a lot easier for you guys to place orders, because it's kind of like bundled services, depending on competition levels, like different, we've kind of, Rob has put that into the link building packages and embed packages now, which is great because it makes it easier instead of you guys trying to have to figure out what's best or having to contact support to figure out which configurations are best depending on your competition levels and stuff. It's going to be suggested right within the sales or the order page, excuse me. So just be on the lookout for that. We've got 3 new services, new packaged services, bundles essentially coming within the next week or so.
Outstanding. All right, guys, that's all we got right now. Anybody got anything they want to toss in before we hop into questions? Nope. All right. Well, last thing I will say too, like Hernan was talking about with POFU Live, if you haven't grabbed your ticket, it's going to be in Denver, October 11th to 13th. Just go to pofulive.com, grab it there. And I encourage you to grab a VIP ticket. It's a great way to get an extra day of the event. And we spend a day right before we start with everybody, and we go out, do an event, have some fun, have some drinks, have some food. And it's nice to get to know everyone beforehand and then roll into the event. You already know everyone. It's a little bit easier and just a lot of fun, guarantee it.
Plus, when some of us drink, we tend to get a little bit loose with information. So
I don't know where my face and Bradley's is for everyone else, but like, yeah, or I guess it's just one at a time. So yeah, come talk to Bradley, get all the secrets you've ever wanted.
All right. If we can jump into it, we got a lot of good questions already. So
let's do it.
Grab the screen then. You guys confirm that you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. I don't know if I can. Does it lock on me when I'm sharing the screen? Do you know? Does anybody know?
It does. Actually, yeah, it does.
Okay, good. All right, cool. So let's get into these. Let's see. The first one looks like it's going to be this one. It says, what's the best way to make a right NAP on citations for a service area business, considering that this kind of business can have multiple zip codes since he or the business provides service for an entire city? Well, with citations, you're supposed to use whatever the physical location of the business is. That's the address, the name, address, phone number. That's what a citation is, right? NAP stands for name, address, phone number. So you list in your citations the actual physical location of the business, regardless of the service area. It doesn't matter what your service area. It doesn't matter if you service 8 zip codes. You're going to put the zip code of where the business is physically located. And it's absolutely critical that you have consistency across everywhere that your NAP is published. It's data consistency. And it's really, really important with citations. So I know with the Google GMB site, if it's a service area business or GMB profile page, whatever, you typically want to hide or not show, not display the actual physical location. So it basically just hides the street address, but it will still show the city and where the business is located. But for most citation directories or even non-business directories, but places where you're going to publish the name, address, and phone number, a mention of the business, which is still considered a citation, you're going to want to make sure that you have as much of the data, like a lot of business directories are going to require you to have the full street address anyways, regardless of whether you hide it or not in GMB. And so what's important is that you make sure that you're consistent wherever it's published. In some cases, we've talked about, being able to not show the street address in other places that it's published. For example, if you're going to publish a press release, you could choose not to list the full street address and just do the business name, city, state, zip, instead of the street address, city, state, zip. But again, most business directories, if you're specifically talking about traditional citations, if you're going to be publishing business directory listings, most of them are going to require a full street address. That was a good question.
Yeah, just to reiterate, a citation is any mention of any of the 3 points, right? In a business, which is the name, address, and phone number.
So and URL too.
Any of those three can be a citation. It has nothing to do with other zip codes or service areas or anything else other than the zip code where the business resides, because that's what the citation is referring to, where the business is, the name of the business and the phone number. That's a citation.
Sweet. Okay. Here's another good one. Says, hey guys, I have about 5 or 6 Google accounts that I access from the same computer. Some are more personal, but there are 2 that I would like to do more SEO on for business. Should I be thinking about a VPN or proxy to prevent any sort of footprint from one IP address? No. That's one thing you can do, but that's not even really the most important thing anymore. The most important thing is for each one of those profiles, Google profiles, accounts essentially, to start accruing and building its own history. And one of the ways you can do that is use something like Browsio or Ghost Browser. I think we have actually links to either one of those, semanticmastery.com/Browsio, BROWSEO, or the other one is just Ghost Browser, semanticmastery.com/Ghost Browser. I know those are what we've called, or I've called, browser keeper apps. I don't know if that's the proper name, but that's what I've always called them. And what that essentially does is allows whenever you go into an account, it basically keeps the session logged in, right? So it's an app that keeps your session logged into that browser for that particular account or profile. And what happens then is you start to accrue a history. And what's odd about using like a VPN or a proxy, which is what we used to do years ago, was we would have to switch accounts. Like every time we would switch accounts, we would do a browser, clear cache and cookies essentially. And then we would maybe run CCleaner, for example, which would do a deep clean of cookies and clean like zombie cookies and things like that. And then we would log in. But that's really odd now, because how many people are logged into a Google account and then log out from a single device and then log into a different account? It's very rare. And so that actually throws up red flags. Your best bet is to use a browser keeper app. I think Ghost Browser is probably the most popular right now that I'm aware of. And just set up a profile for each one of your Google accounts essentially, and then each one of those will maintain its browsing session for no matter what it is that you do, unless you purposefully clean it. Anybody want to comment on that?
Nope.
Good.
Okay, moving on. Fitz is up next. He says, good day, gents. Thanks for offering this forum to help us. My question is, how do you guys create images for posting to GMBs? If you are posting 4 times per day, that's a lot of images. How can that be done cost effectively and efficiently? What would that cost approximately? Thanks. Well, I don't know what it costs. It depends on how you're handling it. My VAs, my blogging VAs, we don't have any accounts that we post 4 to 5 times to per day. 4 to 5 times per week. Yeah, sometimes 7, some cases 10 times per week, which would be twice per day, Monday through Friday. But my VAs typically use a combination of customer or business provided photos, right? So for most of my clients, I have a shared Google Photos album that they or staff members of their business deposit photos into that my VA has access to, or we use, so it's a combination of customer provided photos or, client provided photos, stock photos, which we don't particularly like to use, but sometimes we still use them anyways. And also grabbing images from YouTube. We've talked about that many times. So find YouTube videos that have relevant scenes or images for whatever business it is that you're promoting, and make sure that you select high resolution of the video player. and just pause the video, take a screenshot of a YouTube video, like an image from the YouTube video. That tends to work well because you can get topically relevant images that are unique, because they're not, those are going to be unique. It's very unlikely that any of those have ever been used anywhere else on the web. And if for geographically or, geo relevancy, you can take screenshot images of like known, landmarks and stuff around the business from maybe Google Street View or maps and stuff like that. You just got to be careful that you don't have the Google watermarks in them, because that could be, you could get in trouble for Google for that. Anybody else want to comment on that?
I showed in local GMB Pro training how to get unlimited local images.
Yep.
And how to get rid of how to avoid the watermark. It's all in the training.
There you go. So as far as what does that cost approximately, again, my VAs just do everything on a pay. I've got one VA that I pay hourly, but the other for blogging. But my other VAs, they just charge on a pay per post basis. So it's just wrapped right into the service. It's up to them to get the images, or generate the images. In the case of stock images, I fund an account, or my clients fund an account, depending on what the agreement is with my clients. So some clients have fund an account, my VAs have access to that. Other clients, it's just wrapped into the monthly retainer, so I actually fund it. But it's not very expensive. It depends on what kind of arrangements you have with your VA. All right. It's very cost effective, guys. Content marketing is one of my primary sources of revenue for my agency, because I pay a VA a set amount and I mark it up, usually at least 100%, if not 150%. So, I'm making money off of basically just providing them with the tools and the knowledge of how to do it. And it's great because it's just money, it's revenue on autopilot. So, okay. Fitz says, having a good day. Send a quick donation to Marco's charity. Having not so good a day, client or something driving you nuts, get back at them and send a small donation. Okay. That's cool, Fitz. I think Marco would appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot I really appreciate it. We're always needing money. So yeah, thanks a ton.
Gordon's up. He says, hey guys, thank you very much again for the great help you provide on hump days. If you order an RYS Drive Stack from the MGYB store and have it targeted to a client's web property, for example, their GMB listing, can you turn it off at a later date if the client stops paying you? And if so, is that something that average consultant can easily do? And if so, how much would MGYB charge to do it? Yeah, it's actually really simple to do. Because if you're the one that's going to be managing it for them anyways, and all you have to do is either go in and delete the Drive Stack entirely, but you would have access to the Google account, right? Because when you buy a Drive Stack from us, we're going to create a new Google account, then build everything in there, and then we'll share it with you and you can take ownership of it or do whatever you want to do. But the Google account that we create when we create the Drive Stack, that's going to be the original owner of the Drive Stack anyway. So all you got to do is log in there and just delete it as the owner, right? If you want, or just set it to private again to where nobody has access. Only you or the owner has access. However, we do know that Marco might be able to comment on this. If you turn something not to public, but to anybody can view that has the link, you can still pass juice through that, even though it's not publicly available on the web. But Marco, if you turn it to private to where only people that have or if you set it to private to where only specific permissions can be given to, very specific people, does that stop passing juice or will it still pass juice?
I haven't tested that. I can't answer that, but I just set it to private since you're going to be doing a whole lot of work through that. And then you go in and you just turn it to whatever else you want, another client, something personal. You just have to edit it, right? Yeah. In that niche, in that category, whatever it is that you're targeting. So don't just set it to private while you go in and you edit the content. What I would recommend is eliminate the G site altogether and then build a new one with the old Drive Stack that's been edited.
There you go. And that's something that we may be able to do in the future. I know Marco's been working on that, being able to go in and edit Drive Stacks and add stuff to them after the initial one's been built, but that's not available yet. You guys will know about it when it is. All right. Next question, he says, by the way, you mentioned previously that we can create a GMB post with a video embedded in it and then use that URL post to run an MGYB embed job, but will that provide any significant ranking power to the GMB listing or just the post itself? Thanks again. I've not done any of that. Marco maybe Marco, you can comment on that. I've not done an embed gig for an MGYB video post, or excuse me, a GMB video post. I have no idea if that would do anything or not. Marco, can you comment? Hello, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. So you do an embed run. Will that provide? Yeah, it's an iframe. It's an iframe of the post that has an inner page on the GMB. So of course it's going to pass power to everything.
Okay, yeah. I mean, again, I haven't tested any of that. That's why I couldn't comment on that. I know the embed gigs that we've got running in an MGYB right now are working crazy good. In fact, that's what the case study that Dedia posted in our mastermind today was about, specifically about a combination of our services, but the embeds being a big component of that. And it's working really well. It's working well for GMB map embeds. It works well for video embeds. You can do, you can iframe pretty much anything. So there's a lot of things that we can use the embed service for right now that are super powerful. So.
Yeah, I wanted to add something real quick so that we don't forget. I don't forget. Before I forget, I should say that if you like what you're hearing, if you like all these back and forth between Marco and Bradley and the people within the mastermind, you should really consider joining the mastermind. There's a lot of high level technical SEO people in there. There's also a lot of business owners right now that are crushing it with all of the stuff that we cannot share publicly. So I would recommend that if you love what these guys are saying, come join us, because you can have a lot more of that. So
gold star for Hernan again. It's a good plug for us, buddy. Thank you. All right, so the next one is, I already have some syndication set up using IFTTT in my blog's RSS feed to Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. If I order a single tier syndication network, will that require modification to my existing syndication, or would Semantic Mastery just create a new network from scratch? Thanks. Yeah, typically we're going to just create a new one from scratch, which it's okay. We're not, because remember, we're not going to create a Facebook page for you. We don't do that. Or a Facebook profile. We don't do that. Twitter, yeah, we would create a Twitter account typically and a new Tumblr account. And it's okay to have more than one Tumblr or Twitter. I'm not so much of a Twitter user. It's part of the networks, but I don't know, maybe somebody else can comment on if it's okay to have multiple Twitter accounts for the same brand. But you can have more than one Tumblr blog or more than one WordPress blog in a syndication network for a brand. The goal is not to create a whole bunch of them, because that's very spammy, but it's okay to have, an additional one or two. It's not going to hurt, especially blog properties. It's really not going to hurt. You just don't want to, what I recommend not doing is creating multiple syndication networks, full on networks for one particular brand, to where the only content that's ever published to them is the content that's republished, reposted, syndicated from a blog, the money site blog. And that's because that leaves a footprint which is clearly used for search manipulation. But as far as if you just have a couple of syndication points like Facebook, which we're not going to touch anyways, Twitter and Tumblr, I don't think that would be an issue. Can anybody comment on the Twitter part of it?
I don't think so either, unless you're pushing really, really hard on getting those indexed, but it's really hard to index a tweet, right? So I don't think it will be that big of a deal. We have experience sending people through t.co, which is Twitter, shortener, through a go.gl and all that sorts of shenanigans, which we had, and it did move the needle. So I don't think it would be any issues doing that. I would still keep it like natural as possible.
Yeah. Well,
usually like any company out there, if you think about it, any company or business, unless they're opening Twitter accounts or Twitter profiles for different branches, they don't have like a lot of Twitter profiles. They have like just one main Twitter profile, and then they syndicate out of that. So I would follow that route.
Yeah, and also keep in mind, if it's a Twitter account, if you've already got a Twitter account that you actually really engage with, or the company, the brand does or whatever, that actually engages with, has followers and that kind of stuff, and it's being really used, then if you have another one that's created as part of the network, when you buy it from us, it's not a big deal because it'll basically be sandboxed anyways until it gets a lot of engagement. And if you're not actively using it other than just posting tweets to it, it's probably not going to affect anything. But that said, just contact support and say you've already got your own Twitter account. Again, Tumblr, I wouldn't care about having a second Tumblr, but Twitter, if you want to just contact support and say, look, I've already got my own Twitter account, please omit that from this network. We can certainly do that. It's not, I mean, then you don't even got to worry about it. You just got one Twitter account you're already connected to, so it wouldn't be an issue, right? It's a good question though, Kyle. He says, also, I have a lot of your services appear to benefit sites, or excuse me, also a lot of your services appear to benefit sites focused on local SEO. What semantic mastery service would or would not benefit affiliate sites that are location independent? Thanks. Everything that we have will benefit any sort of site. We've talked about a lot of our stuff and framed it as a local SEO type or local, it produces results for local, because a lot of our audience does local lead gen or local client consulting. So, that's why you hear a lot of that. However, they're sound SEO principles that will benefit pretty much any sort of project. And as Marco always says, which I know, Marco, I'd like for you to chime in on this, your local is relative. So all of the stuff that we do are really entity validators, right? So for example, Syndication Network, that helps to solidify the brand, right? Something else, kind of a newer term that we're kicking around is an entity loop, right? Because that's part of what we do with like our ad ID pages and all these other things, that we create these loops that help to solidify the entity. And it basically puts all these different assets out there on the web that reinforce what the entity is to Google. And so syndication networks, drive stacks, ad ID pages, all of those things are a part of that. So Marco, what can you say about that?
Well, I've talked about this quite a bit. Right? We've all talked about this. Local is absolutely relative. It's how you look at it. If you box yourself in and you only see relative as your neighborhood, then you're never going to rank for your city because you're stuck in your neighborhood. If you only see the city, then you're not seeing the county. And if you're only seeing the county, and so on and so on and so on. What matters now is the entity, the overall entity, and how you're relating the entity to the niche. If the niche is global and you focus on local, then that's where you're going to get stuck, because you have a global entity, but you're at a local level, and vice versa. So it's really how you focus on it and how you relate your entity to the niche that matters, whether the niche is local, whether the niche is nationwide, or just whatever. That's how you need to look at it. And again, next Wednesday during the RYS anniversary webinar, we are going to show an ecom case study. I can't say the name of the e-commerce store, but it's getting just fantastic results. And e-commerce is not local, or at least this one. It's not targeting anything local. It's really global and focused on the US, of course. But it just goes to show that if you do it the right way and the way that it's taught, right? Because the training is there in a specific manner, because that's how it works. So as long as you follow the training, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to replicate results. It's when you start veering from the training and like cutting corners or not doing everything that we tell you to do, that the results just won't flow. You cannot expect it to work the way that it works for us if you're cutting corners, if you're not doing everything that we tell you you should do.
That's a good point, because not last week, because we didn't have a mastermind webinar last week, but the week before, that was part of, we covered that. I covered that a bit in depth, because you can't do one part of everything that we teach kind of builds upon each other. They work hand in hand. The sum of the parts are large. The whole is, the sum of the whole is larger than this. The whole is larger than the sum of its parts. Does that make sense? I think I said that right this time. It took me a minute to think through that, but the whole is bigger than the sum of its parts. In other words, if you put all of the components together that we teach in the way that we teach it, then you will get a significant effect from it. But if you just do one of them or two of them or bits and pieces of them. It's not like, let's say there was 4 components, right? If you only did one component, you're not going to get 25% of the results, right? It's lesser than that. Like, in other words, if all 4 components are put together and done right, then you should get 100% results, right? Whatever that 100% is. I'm just saying, if you just do one of those 4 components, then it's not going to give you 25% of the results. It's less than that, is my point. You have to do the things that we, the way that we get results is what we teach. Now, I know there's other ways. There's more than what there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So there's other methods out there that will work as well. I get all that, but we teach what works for us, and it works really well. And we haven't, knock on wood, we haven't had to deal with any penalty issues or anything in years. So again, I feel very blessed for that reason. But if you're just doing parts of it, you're not going to get the full results. So like Marco said, you want to follow if you're going to be using our stuff, use it the way that we suggest using it, including building all of the components out, putting them together the correct way. Okay, don't cut corners or you won't get results. And then you'll say, oh, well, their stuff doesn't work. No, every time we have to analyze somebody that claims that stuff doesn't work, it's because they cut corners essentially, or they didn't complete all of the stuff. So.
We just had someone who ordered a drive stack without the G site say that it's been over 21 days, cleared the Google dance. Why am I not seeing results? I thought someone said that I would be getting results. We never said that. If you read, see, here's the thing. When we deliver the drive stack and the G site or anything that has to do with RYS, you get a done for you users guide. I wrote it, so I know what the fuck is in it. I tell people specifically, this is what you need to do. Sometimes all that's required is a drive stack. This is how I say it. And then at other times, you might be able to do more. That's why we came up with the battle plan. The battle plan is very specific. Syndication Network, drive stack. And then into the drive stack, you might need press releases. You might need embed. You might need link building. You might need to push videos. You might need another embed run, another link building run. On this ecom store, it went to 300,000 links before it got a nice push. So sometimes it's not just a one, link building push that'll do it. Guys, it depends on the competition. If you're going up against Amazon and you get 2,500 links to your drive stack, are you seriously telling me that you're expecting results against Amazon with that? It's a joke. I mean, you have to look at your competition, gauge your competition, understand how much work it is that you need to do to take on your competition, and is it going to be worth the money going after that competition, or are you better off going after something else? But if you're in it to win it, then you have to go, I don't know, balls to the wall. You have to go all out. You have to just hit it and hit it and hit it again until you get the desired results. But you cannot just get one thing and say, okay, this is good enough. Now I'm gonna, I'm gonna rank for Toronto
DUI attorney or
DUI
something.
Lawyer, DUI attorney. No.
I got to tell that story real quick. We had a member come join our mastermind. This is 3 or 4 years ago now, and he was in our mastermind for, I don't know, maybe 2 months. He built a syndication network that was only partially complete, and did like 3 posts to his blog for targeting DUI attorney Toronto, or I was in Canada, either Toronto or Ontario or something like that. DUI lawyer, DUI attorney. And he basically said, your stuff doesn't work because I'm not ranking on page 1 for DUI attorney Toronto or whatever it was. And I said, well, let me take a look at what you got. It was a partially completed syndication network with 3 blog posts, and that was it. I was like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't work. So it was funny. He didn't stay with us. Anyways, let's move on. The next one is, after building a syndication network for a client. I like this question, by the way. After building a syndication network for a client, what's the best type of reporting you could do for them to make sure that they know it was worth it? Well, in the past, years ago, up until really last year, I would have said, rank reports are one of the ways that you could show a client that it's working, because as long as remember, a syndication network alone isn't going to do much. It does help to solidify the entity. There's no doubt. And I've proven that recently, even with my most recent business that I launched. But the trick with a syndication network, and always has been, is to publish consistently and regularly to it. especially if it's connected to a money site. Same thing for YouTube. Because what happens is it will theme the network over time. In other words, it starts to build up more authority and relevancy, topical relevancy and location relevancy if it's for local stuff, as more content accrues across the network, right? So, and they become aged and more trusted and all of that. So the idea with the syndication network is to, and this is what I always recommend, guys, and I've said this since day one, when it comes to client work, content marketing it's not an option. It's part of my SEO monthly services, right? That they're paying me monthly. And part of that is content marketing, which includes blog posts. If it's a lead gen property that I own, I might not blog all the time, or I might not have VAs blog all the time, because once I get results and I get it to rank, then typically I, can pull back in some cases. I can pull back to where it reduces my expenses for lead generation properties. But for clients, I always tell them, look, if we pulled back, there's a possibility that you could slip in results. You could stop getting as good of results. And then there's always a catch-up period. So there's going to be a delay between when you start to stop getting good results and the time that we can get them back for you. So I just recommend never taking your foot off the gas. So that's what I always recommend to clients. And so it's an ongoing thing. As far as how do you report to them, rankings are no longer my primary reporting method. I still include rank reports, I'm not going to lie to my clients, guys, but I made it clear to them well over a year ago now that it's because of the way that the algorithm is now with mobile index first and proximity and all of that, that the rank reporters they're inaccurate. They may provide an indication as to the ranking health of something, but they are really rather inaccurate, because it really depends on where somebody is, what kind of device they're searching from, their search history, all of that kind of stuff influences search rankings now for each individual user. So what we focus on, and I know my partners will agree, is that we focus more on providing traffic statistics. So analytics, GMB Insights, Google Search Console. For Search Console, you could show that the site is getting more impressions, which means that the site is being recognized by Google for more keyword search queries and given impressions. For analytics, you can show traffic increasing. For GMB Insights, more maps activity, impressions, click for driving directions if it's a storefront, phone calls, those kind of things. So my primary reporting methods to my clients now are analytics, GMB Insights, and Search Console. And if I'm doing AdWords stuff, obviously, Google Ad stuff, I can show them ad traffic statistics. And then rank reports are always thrown in there, but they're kind of a secondary thing. They're not, I've made it real clear that they're no longer the primary reporting method.
All right. So specifically around or regarding the syndication network, the conversation needs to be around branding and ongoing brand recognition. That's how you're reporting. Well, the initial conversation with the client, that's what needs to take place. You're going to tell the client that you're going to have the brand throughout the web. And that you're going to be working on ongoing brand recognition, which just means that you go and add, because we have a ton of update videos, you add new profiles according to the updates that Bradley does on an ongoing basis. It's very simple. If you keep the conversation that way, and that you'll be working on the brand, and that you'll be working on brand recognition, then you can bring in content syndication as part of it, because the only way that you could get the brand, that you could get it branded correctly and you could get the brand recognized, is by posting on a regular basis into these different social media and Web 2.0 properties that you're going to create. That's how I would frame the conversation with the client, so that there's nothing else that you have to account for, no ranking or anything else. Now, as Bradley said, the second part of this would also be that you're paying for, you're getting paid for results. Or that's at least how I do it, and I know Bradley does it the same way my partners do. You get paid because you produce results, and so as long as you can show that you're producing results, which is all of the things Bradley said, and also phone calls, you make sure that you have a way to get into those your client's phone calls, to see and to be able to show the client that you have affected the number of calls that have come into the business on a monthly basis, and it's because of your work and what you've done. That's how I would frame the reporting.
Yeah, I totally second and third what these guys were saying. The reason why is because if you're providing a keyword report, you're missing so much. Like, you're leaving so much out of the table, because people do not search as the Google Keyword Planner tells you that they search, right? They have so many variations, that there are infinite variations of any keyword imaginable, right? So having that in mind, the reality is that business owners, they don't care if they're like ranking number 1 or number 2. What they do care is how many new clients you're generating. So the best report, in my opinion, would be a really simple one. Would be, before hiring me or my firm, my agency, how much money or how much revenue, how many sales you were doing. Now, after hiring me, 30 days, 60 days down the road, has that increased? If it does, then that means that we're doing something right. So it's just like the bare bones reports, that would be it. You can add impressions, you can add increasing traffic, longer length of sessions, on the website, decrease bounce rate, and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, what a business owner will be focusing upon is your help helping them, or are your services helping them move the needle and move their business forward, right? A business owner that is like focusing on, oh, well, we decrease one spot, or we lose like 10% of our rankings. That guy is putting their main focus and energy where it shouldn't be, which is, that's your job. That's why they're hiring you. So those are my 2 cents.
Okay. Oh, I have an update. I had a client that had a GMB that was suspended they're in the pest control industry. And I just went in and made a slight edit, and it got suspended. And it's a legit business. It's been legit for 7 years. It wasn't spammy. Nothing I did was spammy. We've never done anything spammy for that business. And it's always just dominated in its local area. And then it got suspended. And it took, I tried to do a reconsideration request or reinstatement request, and I got denied. And it took 4 weeks for them to reply back finally and say that, nope, it's in violation of quality guidelines, which is total BS. So I replied back, said, please explain, there nothing was, anyways, I rebutted it, but of course I never got a reply. So I talked to my client about 2 weeks ago and told him that, I was going to have to create a spammed listing in the same area in order for us to generate a new one, unless he wanted to go through the process as the actual business owner, the bona fide business owner, because I did it through my manager account as a manager of the GMB. But I had him do it. I asked him if he would do it under his owner's account. And so he submitted a reinstatement request, and it took only about two weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. And we just got notification yesterday that the listing has gone live again. And I've confirmed that it is back. So just so you guys know, if anybody that has a GMB now, the newer ones, I don't know, but this was an aged one. It's been in existence for like 7 years, and it got suspended because of just a slight edit that I made to it, which was bullshit. It was just one of those algorithmic suspensions, I believe. And but they wouldn't allow me. They denied my request to reinstate as a manager. But as the business owner, he was able to get it reinstated, and about half the time that it took them to even reply to me. So just so you guys know, that's something you may want to check out if you run into the same issue. Okay, Will's up, and we've got lots more questions, guys. So I'm going to try to roll through these a little bit quicker. Will says, hey, guys, I have a client that has a current GMB listing and has recently expanded to a new location. He doesn't want to change the current GMB listing and instead wants to know if there's a way of creating a new GMB listing for the new location. The new location has its own phone number and business address. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if it's got its own business address, that's a genuine new location. So there's no reason why you can't set up another GMB listing for that. Postcard verify it to the new business address. All I would recommend is that you create a separate landing page on the same, if you're going to use the same website, just create a location specific landing page and use that as the website URL in that new GMB listing for the new location. Does that make sense? But yes, as long as you got a unique address and a unique phone number. And like I said, I would recommend using a unique URL, not a new website, it could be a location page, an inner page of the same website, this location specific. So yourbrand.com/location name. Does that make sense? Or city or whatever like that. Use that as the actual website URL. Then there's no reason why you can't create a new GMB for that. I would absolutely do that. Okay.
Totally agree.
Moving on. The next one is some very nice things that this gentleman says. And he says, question one, actually, I am trying to rank a Shopify store for the Syndication Network. Oh, I'm trying to rank a Shopify store. And for the Syndication Network, I have two options, which I guess, A, either host a WordPress blog on my subdomain and use it as the syndication source, or B, just post blogs on Shopify as they have an RSS feed, so I can use that as a source. So I'm confused about which way to go that provides more link juice and authority to my main ecom site. Also, if I have a normal WooCommerce store, then should I use a blog subdomain or not? Okay, I'm not an ecom guy. I'm going to give you my opinion, and then maybe some of the other guys can chime in, because I know really none of us do much any ecom stuff really. But my opinion is, if you can blog on a Shopify store, that may be great. Typically, that you can get a little bit more authority from blogging from the actual money site itself. But I don't know first of all, how those blogs posts are going to look. I don't know how, what it looks like when it's syndicated. In other words, I don't know how much control you have over the content that, like is like a WYSIWYG editor. In other words, can you add elements to the content and all, the blog posts, all that kind of stuff? I don't know, because I've never done Shopify stuff. With WordPress, I know what you can get with WordPress, and you probably know as well. So if you use a subdomain on a e-commerce site as your blog, as content distribution engine, essentially, that you have really a lot of control over the content and how it's formatted and the elements and what it looks like syndicated. And what happens is, if you mirror, and we always talk about this, it's, Network Empire kind of coined the term, but it's called theme mirroring. So if you if you create a subdomain, a blog, a WordPress installation on a subdomain for your money site, then if you create a theme mirrored structure, so in other words, a silo structure based upon the categories within your store, and you basically link your category URLs, do a 301 redirect from your category URLs over to your category pages on your money site, then you do all of your blogging from your subdomain, you place your posts in the correct categories, which, and do all of your internal linking to your store pages, then you can use the blog and still push 90% of all the juice back to the money site the main site, the root domain, which would be your Shopify store. We've had, I know I don't really do any e-commerce stuff, but I have done content marketing for e-commerce clients in the past, and we've always been able to get really good results doing that exact same method that I just covered. Does anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I want to comment something.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say real quick that Shopify does come with a blog solution, and it will allow you to SEO optimize it. But the reality is that here with a WordPress subdomain, I would like to know what Adam has to say about this, because I know that he's playing with Shopify a little bit as well. But with a Shopify store, like if you're trying to rank on Google for your Shopify store, go the WordPress route. Like WordPress is second to none when it comes to SEO capabilities. Yeah, like you can get away with the Shopify blog, but it's not like, unless you're doing paid media, which 99% of Shopify owners, do paid media. By that, I mean sending traffic to an article via Facebook ads or Google ads, or, sending like actually paid traffic to your store, which is like 99% of the Shopify stores out there. Other than that, then I would definitely suggest what Bradley just said, because you can control that way the one of the, if not the best, one of the best SEO optimized platforms in the world, which is WordPress, if you're planning on blogging, right? Number one, and also number two, you can still leverage the ease of use that Shopify has. So that would be my intake on it.
Yeah, I'm basically going to pair it with Hernan said and just agree. I would probably go with, if you have the choice, go with WordPress, especially if you're more familiar with it and getting it set up. But other than that, as far as the actual benefit these days, I haven't seen anything. Have you guys seen any actual studies recently about whether that, okay, yeah, we should dig that up. If anyone's watching and has seen one recently, let us know. Yeah, I've been working a lot with the emails and optimizing like actual landing pages, but not so much the back end or, using subdomains. So
Yeah, I don't know one against the other, but the ecom case study we'll be talking about next week is a .com TLD with a blog. Right? It's not a Shopify store or anything. It's built on WordPress.
Right. It's a WooCommerce.
Yeah,
Store.
that's what's getting. Yeah, it is WooCommerce, and that's what's getting syndicated. Right, it's getting syndicated from the .com TLD.
Right. Yeah. So Shopify, it's really, really powerful, and it's like it's simple because you don't want to, you don't have to fuck around with hosting and whatnot. They will allow you to add subdomains to your domain, and then at the end of the day, like you can still use Klaviyo, which is the solution that Adam is. He's really good at that. So you can use Klaviyo to send emails. And then you will be basically getting the best of both worlds, which would be the SEO world and the e-commerce store. It would be pretty cool. So,
yeah, and I'm taking a page off Hernan's book too, though. Like, if don't spend so much time worrying about it. Like, if it's going to take a couple weeks, like, or a month, to like get the subdomain or get the client or if it's yours, like, just start getting some content out there, and you can, switch the syndication point. Like, start if you've got content. Check out Shopify. That way, if you are doing this for a client, maybe you know how the blog works when someone's like, no, I refuse to do it this way. But in the meantime, yeah, I would go the WordPress route.
Very good. So question number 2 is for creating blog posts, both review and curated type posts. What would be the best way for linking to my money site? Should the blog content be linked to category pages or direct product links? Either or. In some cases, both. It really just depends on what your content of the blog post is. So for example, my blog is about 10 best baby products. So would I link to all 10 products individually or just the baby category page? In that case, I would probably link to the category page. But you do want some internal link diversity. In other words, you want to keep your silos tight. So what I just mentioned about if you're creating a blog on a subdomain, and like WordPress blog, essentially, you're going to want to silo the site into categories, just like you would have your products. So, your products go into specific categories because it's logical for them to go into the categories that they're in. Well, you want to stack your content the exact same way. So again, you would, for the WordPress category URL, you can set up 301 redirects from the category URLs to the category pages on your money site, your Shopify site or e-commerce site. But then in the actual blog posts themselves, like I said, you want to any post that you place in a product category, and likewise a content category on the blog, you want to link to both the products within that category and the category page itself, not both at the same time all the time. What I'm saying is you do want to switch up your internal linking strategy somewhat to where sometimes you're linking to the category page, sometimes you're linking to a product or two within that same category. And it really just depends on what the content is about. But in that case, I wouldn't link to all 10 baby products individually. I mean, you could, it wouldn't hurt anything because as long as they're all still in the same category, it's still going to pass some juice. But what we teach in the mastermind, and I know I can't get too deep into this at all, is specific ways to do internal linking now, especially within tight silo structures that can get really, really good results. So again, I would recommend that what you don't do though is cross post from within one category to another with internal links. If it makes sense to do so from a reader or viewer standpoint, for strictly SEO purposes, you don't want to cross link from within the same post to other categories or other products within other categories. If you're going to, for the user's benefit, then no follow those links, add the no follow tag or attribute to those links. Okay.
So back to a nod or hats off to Network Empire again, buoyancy still works like crazy. So
yep.
if you work bottom up so that your blog posts are pushing up that top level category, just think about it this way. Right? You're going after the top of the pyramid, but what holds the top of that pyramid is all the work that you did on the bottom. So pushing from the bottom up, you're pushing up that top level category your top market level keyword, and all of the work that you do to push that top level category up is going to carry everything up along it as the top market level category begins to climb up in the SERPs. It'll pull everything along. So it'll have the effect that he's looking for if he does it right. But where he can get the most value from this is if he joins the mastermind and comes and listens to what we've been doing as far as interlinking is concerned.
Yeah, and we've only got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to skip that last part of the question. It looks like Adam dropped a link for
yeah, I just want to say real quick, if anyone else is interested in this, we did a webinar. This was a couple of years ago now with Scott Scanlon and Curation Suite. And he talked a lot. He had some great info about content curation. So on the content side, go check that out. Unfortunately, we can't heartily recommend the tool itself right now. We've been hearing some issues with people not being responded to, but watch the webinar for the content information, how to generate content. There's some great ideas.
Yeah. All right. So then this one says, is there a way to use all of the products without giving away your full address for privacy reasons? And can we change address easily? Does that affect citations and everything else? I set up my Google business with full address, but chose to hide it, then did citations using just the part of Google address that does show, like city, state, zip. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yes and no. If it's best to be able to use the full address, there's no question. But if you, for whatever reason, you absolutely want to hide the street address, then what I would recommend is on every time that you create a citation that you don't include the street address, as long as you keep them consistent, right? And as long as the name is unique, if it's a name that can be ambiguated with others, in other words, if there is another business with a similar name that is in close proximity to you, and you try to just get away with city, state, zip, name, city, state, zip, and phone number, and then obviously URL, then that can cause ambiguation, right? That can muddy the waters a bit for both your business as well as your competitor's business that has a similar name, and can cause both of you guys to have issues with ranking or getting results. So, but as long as it's unique, a unique name, and you've got, like I said, a unique phone number, unique web address, then you can get away with that, although it still is best to give it more data than less data. So again, I would recommend that, if at all possible, just use the address. Remember, most of the places that you're going to be publishing the address aren't really going to get, it's for SEO purposes, right? So you're not going to get a lot of eyeballs to it, which is going to reveal, like, for people to come knocking at your door pissed off or whatever. Like, it's not, I mean, you shouldn't really have to worry about that, in my opinion. But like I said, as long as you stay consistent and you don't have a common type name that will cause ambiguation with another type of business, which would hurt both of you, not just you. Does that make sense? Then you can get away with that, but more data is better than less data in that case. Okay. All right. This is the last question, guys. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to the rest of them. He says, you guys rock. I wanted to add a few things to the conversation in case it can help someone. Bradley mentioned a few times how PressCable has a lot of PBN type junk sites in their PR syndication network. I've posted a few PRs recently, and they appear to have gotten worse. Yeah, unfortunately, some of the PBN press release distribution services are more worried about inflating their distribution numbers than they are about the quality of the distribution sites, and that's unfortunate. I can't comment on that anymore just because I haven't used them in quite some time. I'm happy with my providers. So you can now verify a Bing Places maps listing based on your verified GMB listing. Bing Yahoo still covers about 30% of search if we believe the public statements. So probably worth doing for all properties. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I'm even using Bing ads and a couple of businesses my own business for one, but also for a couple other businesses, because there is traffic in Bing, not nearly as much as Google, guys, but Bing ads work on, and same thing I imagine with search, but organic stuff and local stuff is Bing ads. When you run Bing ads, they appear on Bing, Yahoo, and AOL. Who the hell still uses AOL as a browser? But they do. They appear there too. And I do get traffic from there, and the clicks are cheaper than they are for Google PPC as well. So,
dude, specifically for your demographic, for the stuff that you're doing with the land stuff, that is a slam dunk, because it's exactly the demographic that you want to target. So
The
It's
older
awesome.
demographic. You mean
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
for sure.
AOL browsers?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Man, Marco, if you got 30 more seconds, let's cover this other one just because I think it's a perfect ending question. What is the main reason people use an RYS Drive Stack? Is it only to help
No,
drive the map listing?
you can stop it right there. Power.
Yeah.
Power wherever you want it to go. Has nothing to do with it with a GMB. It has nothing to do with anything else. If you want it to be the GMB, so be it. What do you call it? The GMB, the business site, your money site, a tier 1 branded property, wherever you want the power to go, that's where you direct the power and that's where it goes.
That's right.
That's why you use it. And the power that you're going to push behind that is going to end up wherever you've connected it. That's why.
So we're going to talk about this next week, and it's 5 o'clock, so we do have to wrap it up, guys. But I am just going to point this out really quick because this is the 4-year-old case study from a poorly built syndication or drive stack that I built on my own the day that Marco revealed this strategy to me. And I always show this, but the reason why is because it just goes to show you, I built a drive stack to push the power to the G site of a drive stack, right? And you can see that it's 4 years later, because this is the day that it was published. You can see it's also one of the properties in that stack that all I did was took the same drive files from the RYS stack and embedded them into a WordPress.com post from my, bradleybenner.wordpress.com. And that you can see the day it was published. It was Saturday, May 16th, 2015. And I'm ranking number 1 for Virginia SEO Virginia SEO agency, like multiple variations of that keyword, and have been for 4 years, over 4 years now. All we did, like the focal point of where I was pushing the juice with this particular drive stack was the G site. And you can see that that's what's ranking. We've learned, or, Marco probably already knew this, but you can push the juice of an RYS drive stack to anywhere you want it to go. If you want it to be a GMB map listing, it'll be a GMB map listing. You want it to push to a money site, it can be a money site. It can be a Web 2.0 property, a tier 1 branded entity. It can be anything, the G site, obviously. It can be anywhere that you want to push it. Just depends on where you want. And that's when you go to order a stack, it says specifically what is your primary target URL. And that's what you want to push it to. So
yeah, but I don't know if it works, dude.
It doesn't work.
Should come next week to see how it doesn't work. Yeah.
May 2015, it can't work.
And if it does work, Google can shut it down at any time, right?
Well, the world could end tomorrow. So let's all go hide under the bed.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. We do have a mastermind webinar tomorrow, so we'll see you guys in the mastermind on that. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, guys.
RYS Pitch Fest.